What's up, world? This your boy Tyrone Morgan. I'm here today to bring you the first episode of the Tylight Zone podcast. The Tylight Zone podcast is a podcast where I get to be myself. I get to speak on many various topics, give you my views. I get to highlight somebody. Well, let's do this. The segment for my views is it me? Is it me is where I give my views on various topics, whatever that can be for whatever that day, and no matter what arena that it's in. And then I have the interview segment that we call In the Zone with Tyrone. Yes, In the Zone with Tyrone is where I interview a person of interest, which is somebody that I think is very interesting and has something to add to the world. I believe that God has given us all the light in this world, and I believe we have to find our way to shine it. And so I want to shine them lights on different aspects of life, not just spiritual. I want to family. I want to do finance. I want to have people who just have creatives and all this kind of stuff that I want to have, just different people that are bringing something different to the podcast. And then my final segment is the highlight of the day, which is where I highlight somebody that I feel like is making an impact on the world around us, even if no matter what kind of format they're making a positive impact. As long as it's positive in a way, we will celebrate you on this podcast. So the podcast come to me. God gave me a vision for it. He gave Tylight. The name comes from Tyrone, which is my name, and light is what God has given me to be who I am created to be. So I just mix two together and we come up with Tylight. So Tylight is just the light that God has given me to shine on the world that's around me. So I believe that everybody have a light, and I believe that once we see that we have a light, our greatness start to work, and we start to shine a big light on our greatness in our life. Because everybody that was created on this earth, past, present, or future, has the ability and a seed in them of greatness. We just had to find a way to nurture it so it'll come to the forefront. So with this podcast, it's not as much about me as it is about the people that are part of it and the people that watch it, because we want to inspire. One of the things that we do, we want to inspire people. We believe that it is your time to shine, and that is one of my catch phrases and something else that God has given me that I think that I'm about to use right now this very second, and it is glow time. Let's go. All right, our next segment is none other than the Is It Me segment. It's where I give my view on topics, whatever comes to my mind at this time. And today my topic is haters, something that you hear a lot of us talk about all the time. And I was just thinking, like, is it me? Or do we spend entirely too much time focusing on people hating on us? I don't get it, because once you sit down and you really think about it, you actually think more of that person than you think of yourself. You're going to say, Tyrone, you wrong. I'm not. Because every move you make is, I'm going to show somebody. I'm going to prove them wrong. I bet you I can do that. You know, we always trying to prove something to somebody. So really, our haters are more important, because our haters are our motivators. That's what it is. There used to be a saying, let your haters be your motivators. I think that is flawed thinking. I think if you don't motivate yourself and push yourself to be great, then you will always be confined to the perspective and the mindset and the thinking of the people that's around you. If you don't learn to think for yourself and be your own motivator, that's why I believe purpose is such a big thing in our life, because the God-given purpose should motivate you to continue to do what you do and continue for you to continue to be great. I don't believe in letting because if other people can build you up, which is your haters being your motivator, that means they can tear you down too. And I don't want nobody to have that ability in my life. So I learned to let God be my motivator, his purpose for my life be my motivator, and quit worried about the people that's around you, because this is what I have found out about people. Most of them hate on you, don't like you, don't care for you, whatever word you want to use, because there's something in you that they see that makes them feel bad about themselves. Yeah, because it's really not you, it's them. Most people who hate is jealousy, And jealousy is always about the person that has it. It's never about the person, the object of the person. So if you jealous because I got a nice car, you just mad because you don't have one. Because if you got one, then you ain't worried about it. You know what I mean? So I just want to drop that today, and I want to give you something to think about. I love to shift mindsets and perspectives. So let's stop letting our haters be our motivators and let our purpose be our motivators. And that is my segment called Is It Me? So our next segment is the Tylight of the day, and what we're going to do is we're going to celebrate this person. This is a very special person in my life. He has been a major influence in the person that I am becoming in the last 7 years. He is a great man of God. He is a great man, great leader, family man, loves his wife, and I am talking about none other than the leader of the Presence Church, Mr. Ravon Ravenel. I salute you, sir. You my guy. I appreciate it. I really and truly appreciate everything that you've done for me in my life. Allowing God to use me to grow me into the person that I am today. Teaching me to follow God's heart. Teaching me to seek God with all my heart and do everything I can to do the will that He has for my life. And so with you being that instrumental with me over the last 7 years, I've had a lot of impactful people, but not many that impacted me the way you have when it comes to God. One of the first things God lets me see about you was your heart for His people, and the heart that you have for Him, and the heart that you have for His people. So that was very eye-opening for me, and to really see somebody really serve God with the right heart. And so I really appreciated that. That would be one thing that I never will ever forget, because it was instrumental in me learning and realizing that is possible. And you was always you. You never. I can remember the first time my mama met you. She's like, "Is that he a pastor?" So you don't look like the what people would think as a pastor. But look, sir, looks can be deceiving. You're a great pastor. You're a great man of God. I love you. I want to make sure I honor you at every step of my walk, where I'm at now and where I will go in the future. So just to let you know, I love you, sir. There is nothing I wouldn't do for you. Keep up the good work, and the Presence Church is the greatest ministry on this side of heaven. In the zone with our special guest today. Hold on, before we even get to that part, I need to make sure I tell y'all what In the Zone is, because I forget. This is my first show. So In the Zone is my interview segment where I interview somebody that I think has a lot to add to the world. I am one of the person, God gave me a light. That's why you get Tylight. And He's giving me to shine to the people around me. And I want to have special guests, because I know they have a light that they need to shine on the world around them. There are a lot of interesting people in this world that's not just superstars. And so we need to make sure that we have these people somewhere so they can pour into me and the people who watch this podcast. And I gave her a great big build up. So today, my first guest in the zone is none other than the host of the Crooked Crown 21 podcast. Give it up for Miss Loleitha Ward. Woo!
Hello, everybody, and I must say it is an honor to even be here today with my homie.
No doubt.
Tyrone.
We go way back.
Way back.
We are good friends, and I think she's been one of the people in my life that has kind of pushed me in the direction that God has me in. Very much unwillingly, because I'm stubborn, but she has been a help, and I appreciate everything she has done and who she is for me in my life. So I can be nice, can't I?
Yeah, I'm not used to this version, y'all. Okay.
So anyway, we want to give you a chance to tell people a little bit about yourself, who you are, kind of what you do.
So my name is Loleitha Ward. I'm a mom of 7 amazing people, and I'm a servant of the Lord. I believe in living life, having fun,
No doubt,
and serving God wholeheartedly.
Yes.
You know, that's it.
But I think that's important, loving life. Because I think when we hear life, especially when you say servant of the Lord, you hear life is only church.
Yeah, it kind of like dims down.
Right.
But no, it's really not like that. Like, live life, laugh, dance, have fun, smile.
Yeah.
Like, do all of those things that you would do.
Yeah. Just
live, man.
You just
don't
God,
sin.
you know, I mean, it's not that hard. I think we really get misrepresented in the world. And I think we have people that are super religious about stuff, and it's really not. That's not necessarily God.
Yeah.
That's our interpretation of what He says. So we can live life, have fun, smile, joke, cut up. Because anybody that's around me in any podcast, any recording, any teaching, I'm gonna do some kind of crazy laughing because that's just who I am.
Yeah.
I think we should have an abundant life. So it didn't just say abundant spiritual life. God said abundant life. And that's what we're going to celebrate here today.
Yay.
So we was talking about your podcast, Crooked Crown 21 podcast. And so I'm going to start off with some questions, let you elaborate on it before I get involved in any of this process. So my first question is, so when I hear Crooked Crown, my initial thought is, what would make someone's crown crooked?
So my answer to this is very simple. Y'all ready?
No doubt.
Y'all ready?
Let's get it. Tell the people.
Life. Like, when life hit you, woo, it will knock you down. It will make your crown crooked. Like, it does all that. Life.
Yeah, that's it.
Life.
Life is different because you experience so many different things, and a lot of stuff you really never prepare for, so you don't know what to look for with life.
Yeah.
So
and you just you gotta just like take the punches at how they come.
Oh yeah, you ain't. Most times you don't have a choice.
Yep.
The ability to get back up when you've been punched is one of the greatest assets about life. The ability to persevere.
That's
I
right.
think is the word that they use. So I wanted to get when I hear crooked crown, I love definitions, right? I like to make sure what I'm understanding what I'm talking about. So I looked up the word crooked, and it means bent or twisted, out of shape or out of place. And so then crown in scripture means glory. So when I put all that together, I hear out of place glory.
And that is phenomenal because that is exactly what it is. It represents Crooked Crown podcast. Not only represents the foundation is God,
Right.
but what it represents is when things happen. Sometimes, and this podcast is not just something for old, young, saved, unsaved. This is for everybody,
Right.
because life happens to everybody. And sometimes you just may not be able to articulate what you're going through, but then to come into a safe place and hear someone
Right.
that is experiencing the things that you are, it kind of gives insight on life, on how to handle certain things.
Right.
And it's also a place where you can even pour your wisdom into things, because people want to hear your story.
They do.
That is how we all overcome our obstacles, whether we believe it or not. We heard a story, we heard someone's testimony. It encouraged us, it pushed us, and it gave us that to keep going. So,
That's it.
and that's what it's about. It's about people coming together from all walks of life with one common denominator, figuring this thing called life out.
Yeah. And I think the one part that I like that you said that you really don't hear sometimes from believers is it's for everybody, saved or unsaved. I think us being part of the kingdom, one of our things is to make sure that we minister to the unsaved. And I think we cater a lot of stuff just to the people that saved.
Because it's easy.
Yeah, it is.
It's easy.
Yeah.
And when it's time to reach out, beyond that, it's difficult. So we stay away to it and stay in our comfort zone and just talk to the ones that's easy.
Yeah.
But this is not the time for that. Like the world that we're living in today, you're meeting people from all across the world,
right.
different walks around the world, different religions, different beliefs and things like that. And sometimes people just want to know what is the way.
Yeah, that's it. And that's true. I think the reason why the world is in the shape that it's in now is because us as believers have stayed to ourselves. So when we hear separate, we think keep away from everybody. Separation is only seasonal. You're supposed to get your deliverance and go back into the place that you came out of to make sure you're able to pull the people out that you're called to.
That's right.
And so separation don't mean to completely separate, because Jesus was saying, it said God so loved the world. He didn't just say his people. He said the world. He sent his son. And so we are part of the world. We're not of the world, but we are in this world, and we have to be the ones to go out and get these people. And so I'm super excited that there's another believer that's out there that believes that we have to go to the world and get people, because a lot of us don't. We like to stay in our church buildings and be comfortable, like you said, and not take the chance, because I'm part of it. And I'm gonna go ahead and give a disclaimer. This is my opinion. But part of it, because I don't believe half of them is delivered from what they experience. I think they've just been delivered from the atmosphere and not from the actual act of it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you don't know what's in you until you get put back into a situation like that. So I will give y'all a break on that, but we got to get we really got to get.
He about to start preaching, y'all. Like someone pass around the offering plate.
But it's true. I mean, I think we have to get past that, because I really think we're missing a harvest of people because we're scared to go out into the world. And then the people who will go in the world, they're scared to go out because they think somebody's going to have something to say about it.
Or they just can't relate because they so bottled down with religion and tradition. Yeah. Like, they can't even fathom how to connect to this next generation.
Yeah, we got to.
You know, so somebody got to do it.
Yeah, because this is the thing. I said this I was talking to somebody, and I remember saying this to him. It's like, I used to be one of the people that kind of was on the generation behind us, but it's like, I'm going to die. They're going to be here to lead.
Who we going to pass the message to?
That's exactly right. So
Joshua generation, that's what they are.
Yeah.
So we have to prepare them.
We do. That's it. We have to. So if you think the task is impossible, then it's going to be impossible, because that's what you believe. So I have started believing that it's not impossible. I just got to find a way to make sure I can impact them. So I appreciate your help on that. I think that was a great answer. And so my next question is probably going to be probing, because I want to know, how do you recognize your crown is crooked? Because you talk and you say crooked crown, but if my crown were crooked and I seen it, I would try to straighten mine back up. So
let me just go back to the times in my life when my crown was crooked and I didn't realize it. You talking about low self-esteem, feeling inadequate, not good enough.
Right.
Just manipulation, rejection, abandonment, like all those things is a recipe for a crooked crown. Stress, overwhelmed, all those things, unappreciated, all those things is just like a recipe for a crooked crown.
Right.
So I feel like at some point in time when we experience those things, we know something is wrong. We just may not be able to identify exactly what it is.
Right.
Especially when you're talking about back in your youthful days versus now when you have wisdom and knowledge and all these things. So you got a better understanding. But back then, I just knew something wasn't right.
Right.
So.
Okay, so I have two daughters. One almost 18 and one will be about 10. And so I am very in tune with the plight of black women, because I don't want my daughter to grow up in a generation like they're in now, of that black women are perceived for their assets, which is the first three letters of that word, and instead of their whole entire person, instead of their mind, what they bring, for lack of a better word, what they bring to the table. And so I think black women are hypersexualized on everything. Even people now want the black woman hips and lips, and they don't really care about nothing else. That's the only thing to celebrate about it. And so when you watch TV and you see different advertisements, all you see is a black woman being hypersexualized. When you go on Instagram and Facebook, that's all you see. And so you never get to the point of seeing what she's about. And I think that can add to the crooked crown too.
You know what? So actually, the platform is created for the black woman, not just the black woman, it's for everyone. But of course, I'm going to capitalize on the black woman. So it's a place where you got a voice.
Right.
You know, you got a voice. You can express your authentic self.
No doubt.
And guess what? And the world can hear it.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's just a safe place for us.
Yeah.
It's a safe place for us, and it's a safe place for our voice to be heard.
Yeah. You know something I do not. I've kind of been on this for a while, but I hate cookie cutters, right? So I don't like people who are clones of other people because the Lord has delivered me from that, and so He's given me an eye to see people for who they are, and so I think I think self-image is a great big problem, and I think that's part of the black woman's crooked crown. Self-image, the way they see themselves, they always want to either doctor themselves up because they don't look like somebody else. You know,
in these last few years, you'd be surprised how many men battle the same thing that us women battle.
Yeah.
But because it's not a popular topic for a man to deal with these issues. It's not really talked about. Yeah. And you guys have to suppress it. I think you guys suppress it more than we do.
I know. I believe, you know why? To me, it's different for men. So a man, if he don't have money, he don't have any status, any power, any kind of titles, he's looked down upon as a man. He's nobody. And so men don't have the opportunity to show their value because we're always looking at what we're supposed to be bringing to the table. So I think it's somewhat the same like you're talking about, but black women, they see their stuff, and even with the men too, because that stuff is advertised a lot for us too. One
of the things that I notice more about men is they're really suffering depression, mass depression. So it sounds it's like almost like now women are more vocal. We rised up and we're more vocal and we're like speaking our truth and we're letting you know that we're gonna be heard, and it's like the men took a back seat to that where it kind of their light kind of dimmed. So I also want to this is also a place for them because I need to hear the men's perspective of the woman, or what your perspective is about the upcoming generation, and what are you expecting from a woman, You know?
Oh yeah, I do.
So if we never set our expectations, if you don't stand for something, you just fall for anything.
That's a fact. That's the truth. So when I hear that. With men, we struggle with some of the same stuff, but in different ways. And the biggest part of that is it's the image too, because we deal with image on TV. When you see men and when women tote the images around, they won't date a man who don't make a certain amount of money. You know, he don't, like I said, he don't have a nice car that counts him out. So he has all this stuff that he has to carry. And so one of the things that I do know is that I talk about singles. That's one of my favorite things to talk about. But God created Adam first, and He made Adam the head. And so there were certain things that Adam is supposed to handle and carry that was God given. So some of that stuff we're able to tote. And so sometimes that I think with women, I think one of the things that I have an issue with is when I don't like categorizing women strong anymore. I just don't. Strong is a male.
We don't want to be. We have to be. We was forced. We don't want to be. We don't. Like, put us in our place.
I don't
we was
do that.
forced to be like that. Like, seriously.
But I think that's when you see women taking on masculine traits because they're carrying the masculine role. So you pick up the traits. So they little outspoken. And which I don't mind woman being outspoken. Now I mind her being disrespectful. I don't like the disrespect, but you being outspoken, I don't have an issue with it. Some men do. I'm just not one of them. I like to know what you think because I ain't got to figure it out. That's why I don't mind an outspoken woman.
Take this work off my hands.
Yeah, you just tell me what's on your mind and I know it and I'm good.
We
you know what I'm saying? We can handle that. But I just think there's so many things that is different between men and women that the different things are just from a different perspective. They actually, if you take the time and really look at it from a logical standpoint, they really the same issues. And once we figure them out, once we figure out to look at them from your eyes or from my eyes, if you are a woman, you look at it from the opposite perspective, you will really start to see that we're not really as different as we think we are. We just go through certain things differently because men are more logical, women are a little more emotional. And so,
and women don't like to hear that, but sis, it's a fact.
It's a fact. It's really a fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah. It's for prime example. So when you go to a restaurant, I go out and we go eat with women. They will say anything, and they always complain. I've never been around a man that complain about his food and want it back.
Hold on.
Oh my God.
I do not complain about my food.
Hold on. Let me add this part too. And if a man do say something about his food and a woman hear it, she gonna let it be known. That's the crazy part. Your food ain't sir,
ma'am.
Come here. And it's like it's really not that big of a deal, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just don't, that stuff like that lets me know that, we just see the world different. I mean, I can care less. I'm going to eat it, I'm going to be full, and I'm going to be done. I ain't going to be like, hey, come here.
But we're like, wait a minute, I'm spending my money on this.
Exactly what we
had. It need to be right.
So we went out to eat at church, and we had the same thing. All of us went out to eat. I forgot. We went to celebrate somebody's birthday at church, and that somebody's food wasn't right. And when the lady said something about it, and so I don't want to put it on blast, so I ain't gonna say nothing. But the two of them got out and they said so. And so it's like, really not that serious to us. But I mean, I don't hardly ever, I have never seen anything back in my life at a restaurant. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about a crooked crown. Oh, I ain't no doubt. And I got one more person that she's terrible about it. But I love you, so don't worry about it. But we have, I guess when you just think about crooked crown, I wouldn't have thought about it from a male perspective. That wasn't what was on my mind, but I think we do. And matter of fact, I think ours can be worse because men, and this is where y'all get back even with us, men are prideful.
Oh, yes.
So y'all might be emotional, but we're prideful. And so when you do something that injures a man's pride, now that is terrible. Talking about pride, we had to take a small water break.
Yeah, I tell everybody my business.
I ain't tell you who it was though. So you told on yourself. I did not say who it was. But we had to take a small water break because I had somebody all choked up because we were talking about pride of the man and she was ready to jump on that. So
I wasn't even going to. Like the Lord was like, not today, Lo.
So we were talking about pride of the man and how much it injures a man when his pride is hurt. And so it really caused us to go back. And so that's why I was talking about when you said crooked crown for a man, that's like one of the first things I said because we don't really think about it from a man's perspective.
You know why I think men have such a hard time with their pride? It's because communication. Mm-hmm. Y'all are just not effective communicators.
True.
And it's easy for you guys to just like, brush it off.
Yeah.
When then that brushing it off, years and years of brushing it off, then it becomes pride, a little seed of pride, and then you're like, I'm a man, and then everybody else's perspective of what a man should be, need to be, is on your shoulders, and as that way down,
mask. It's another mask. And so men, the one thing I will say, men are never taught. We're never taught to deal with our emotions. Even as little boys, we fall and get hurt. You told to stop crying, get up, you're a man. Men don't do that. So you taught all this toxic stuff, and you never taught to deal with your emotions. I don't think men should be emotional, but I think men should be aware of their emotions.
So, of course, you know, I'm a single mom. Well, you didn't know. I'm a single mom. And I have 3 sons. And my oldest son is 24. And then I have the next son I have, he is 12.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had my oldest son when I was young.
Right.
So I was literally, I was a teenager. I was like maybe about 14.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally grew up with him.
Right.
So there's a lot of things as far as parenting that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't. I was a baby.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Baby without any direction.
Right.
You know, I was a child without any direction. And then I had a baby. And then I had the mother. And I was forced into adulthood. However, with my 12-year-old, one thing I did make a conscious decision is I'm going to teach him how to express himself.
Right.
So one thing that I learned is that a man holding things in, like, y'all are born with that. Mm-hmm. It's not something that you just, like, it's natural. Yeah. Because he'll naturally hold things. And I'm like, so I had to, like, break him out of that. Like, let's take a ride. Let's talk. Let's ride. Mm-hmm. How you feeling? You can't express it. And I'll just throw out different words. Sad, angry, down. And he'll check off yes, no, yes, no. Right. And then, like, get him in touch with being able to express how he's feeling. And and it was like work.
Oh, yeah. It
was work. Yeah. But one thing I can say is with consistency, anything is possible.
Right.
So
true. Well, you know, men's crooked crowns is that I think men hold their stuff in. One of the reasons I do is because I'm gonna do my best to make it logical, so then I ain't gotta deal with it because I don't like dealing with emotions. That's just who I am. I've gotten a lot better over the years with it, especially because I got my daughters, and you know they kind of make me a little more aware.
Softer.
Yeah, you know they bring it. That's why men. I think all men that have children need a daughter that they stay in consistent contact with, because
that's right.
She will break you down the same way you treat that daughter. It should be the same way you treat your wife.
Listen, y'all. Daughters need their fathers.
No doubt.
Like, your father in your life is such a vital point of life. Like, you need your father. Yeah, daughters need their fathers.
That's another part of the crooked crown. The men are not in their daughters' lives, and so they go out and they know they're supposed to have a love of the father. And so they go out trying to find it. And you know, and so it's hard to find. And really, at the end of the day, the love for the Father is actually for your Heavenly Father. That's why that void is never filled. And until we really realize that, you know, we will always have that void. That's even with me. And me had the same thing. But I think the daughter needs the male, because in my eyes, I should be what she should see in a man. You know, I think I should have the integrity and the character. So when she sees that, and if she see a joker that don't have none of that, she's like, my daddy won't like that. I ain't messing with you. So, you know, that's why I like to be a model for my daughters.
And that's really good. Now, because our audience is abroad.
Right.
So for the women out there that's saying, oh, my daughter don't have a father figure in her life. Does she have a brother? Whether it's an older brother or younger brother. So what I started doing is, my son, whenever my daughter, my younger daughter, whenever she would, like if she get her hair done or opening the door, I said, tell your sister she looks beautiful. Tell her she looks pretty. Open the door for her. Right. Defend your sister. So we got to use our resources.
No doubt.
If we don't have it, you got to see what you have and how you can begin to, like, fill in the gaps for what's missing.
Right.
And I'm not saying that that a brother or something like that could take the place of a father, but at the same time, it's giving that daughter, it's giving that young girl a sense of a standard.
Yeah,
a standard. Like, my brother does this. My brother opens the door for me, and he's my brother. So you're not going to just be able to do me any kind of way. You know, it sets a standard for them to know that anything under this is just unacceptable. You know, so just use, and if you don't have sons, you do it. Yeah. You do it. Yeah. You honor and you reverence that child, because they're children now, but they're going to become adults. Right. They're going to become adults, and you're not conditioning them to stay a child, but you're conditioning them to become adults.
Right. So. And I think the adult piece is big because, I have daughters. I keep saying that because it's important to me. My daughters are really important to me, and so I don't raise my daughters not to need a man. I raise my daughters to be adults. Adult mean you take care of what you got to take care of so you can survive. That's what adult mean to me. So I teach them to be adults. My mama taught me to be an adult. I can clean, I can cook, mostly on the grill, but I can do stuff, wash my own clothes, you know, pick up behind myself. I can do all that because my mama taught me to be a responsible adult. So I do believe in teaching people to be responsible adults, because I think once we start, you need people for this. I think you start getting out of what God's intended for us to be. Anyway, we all should be. You should be self-supporting adults. I should be able to maintain my life on my own, and you should be able to do the same thing. So when we come together to become one. When we get married. So you know that's the whole goal of marriage. And I think we have a way different perspective because everybody is looking for somebody to bring something to the table that they need. And really, when you come to the table, you're supposed to be bringing something that the other person needs. So I'm supposed to be bringing what you need, and vice versa. So because marriage is really about the other person. That's something that I didn't know that I've learned. Marriage is about the other person, and see, all this stuff that we're talking about, it kind of is, because
long as I don't make you responsible for my happiness,
that's it,
and you don't make me responsible for your happiness. Happiness is developed within. Yeah. So once we come together, then it could, boom. But you're not responsible for my happiness.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
But another point that I wanted to make is, when you're talking about raising your daughters and things like that, another part of Crooked Crown Podcast, I specialize in parenting. Mm-hmm. And I really do. And I swear, God just gives me like different strategy and solutions on how to handle different situations. And one time my pastor, he was like, "You're just grace for this, like you just flow through parenting." Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, I'm about to lose my mind. but yeah, but one thing that had happened, because I said I had my older children when I was young. So my older daughter, she's like 22. Mm-hmm. I had her when I was 17. Mm-hmm. And so raising her, and she's seeing failed marriage, failed relationships. Right. There was a point in her life where she was like, she had made, I don't know what we were doing one day. We was just probably doing hair or something. And she said, "I don't need no man." And because of what she was witnessed through me, the glory of a man, it was diminished. Right. Understand. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta fix this, because I don't want her to go through the world saying that men ain't nothing. No, that's not how God intended it. So I had to start reiterating on how to honor just the man, period. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing that you know. Yeah, I do that. You'll get from my podcast. That's good. How to honor our men. Yeah, that's good. And not just because it's your brother but just our men. Yeah. How to honor them. Yeah. So that's a big thing, because what I do is I had to learn that I need to practice that. So if you're looking for marriage, I think you have to practice certain stuff. So I honor the women that I'm around. When we at church, we don't allow the women to tote around a bunch of heavy stuff. We just don't do that. Mm-hmm. And so, because really what they're doing is practicing, because they see it
the little girl that's in the church, they see it, so they start knowing what they expect. I'm not saying they can't do it, but if you have a man around, there's certain stuff you shouldn't have to do. We know you had the ability to do it, but you shouldn't have to do it. And so, you be respectful. I see women disrespect other men, but always talking about they're ready for a relationship.
And so what I started making a habit is calling the man what I see him as, and not what he is.
Right.
So it's nothing for me to be like, hey, King. Because that's what you are.
Right.
It doesn't matter what stance you're in. It doesn't matter. When I see a man, whether he's a homeless person, whether he is a business billionaire, or whether he's just a regular John working in a grocery store or flipping burgers, when I see him, I literally can visualize his crown on his head. And then when I see him doing certain things with his life, like going down the wrong path, I literally can see the crown crooked on his head. Like, and that's what inspired my podcast. Is I'm able to see, like, you ever play the Sims game, and how they had the little thing over their head, and it's almost like that. When I see people, I see the position of their crown. And so I just begin to just speak life over our men in their life. I'm a mother and I have sons, and I need to teach them what it feels like to be honored. So that when they get older, you can't just handle them or mishandle them any kind of way. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
I heard a guy on a podcast called Dear Future Wife, and he said a woman can do two things. She can speak to the prince in the man, or she can speak to the joker. And whichever one she speaks to the most is what you're going to see in front of you. That's
right.
And so,
and that is absolutely true.
It is. It's crazy. It's because, being a single mom, it's got to be tough. Because you put in a situation that you never were supposed to be put in. And so sometimes they bring a lot of frustration to the woman. And so sometimes...
And you got to peel off that, and you still got to honor.
Yeah, that's what I was just getting ready to say. It's hard to honor when you frustrated all the time.
Even when they unworthy of honor, you still have to honor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And you have to be accountable.
Right.
And
so how do you get to that point? How do you get to the point of
accountability?
Well, I guess accountability starts with you, but how do you get to the point that you're able to know that you still have to honor no matter how you feel? It literally started with just being accountable. Right. Like, I'm a single mom. I don't want to be, but I am. That's my lot. However, I made a conscious decision to engage in the relationships that I was in. Right. So with that being said, I knew the consequences, and I still chose to engage in a relationship. Right. And the result, I have children. So at the end of the day, I am responsible for the children because I made that conscious decision. Right. And I take all my blame, I take it off of the man, and I reflect on just myself. Right. And when I do that, and I begin to just reflect on just myself and the decisions that I made, I have so much work to do within. I don't even have time to hate you. Right. Right. I don't have the energy to talk about what you did and didn't do. Yeah. Like, I have so much work on my plate right now. Right. So I don't even have the time to even do that, other than say, man, I pray you get it one day. Right. And still hold down what I'm supposed to, and still teach fatherless children to honor their absent fathers. Right. Right. And that's the that right there, I need to write that down. Like, that's a topic, Ty. That's a whole topic. It's hard,
but it's not impossible.
No, it's not, because at the end of the day, it's like you're talking about. The one thing that you have to realize that the only person you can change is yourself. And so once we realize that and we take accountability for that process, it makes, because you start understanding why you made some of your decisions, and you start seeing people based on the decisions they make and why they make them, because you start tearing the guy, what he does, he start stripping the layers off, and you will see. And so once you develop the love of God that God has for people, you're able to see the issues they deal with instead of being able to be mad with them.
Yeah.
You see their issues. And so when you see people's issues, that's when your empathy and your sympathy could come in, which is the compassion that Christ has for the world.
It does. Man, just thinking about that, teaching them to honor.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. I've literally seen my child heart be broken, and you know the mama bear inside of me wouldn't be like,
right.
You know what? Why you? You know?
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? Don't allow it to hold any weight on you. You know who you are.
Yep.
You know they don't have the blueprint. They don't have the manual like you have.
Right.
You got a foundation of God. So when that's missing, anything is liable. People are liable to say or do anything.
Oh yeah.
And so just love them. Reach out. I still tell my kids, like, call your dad. Text your dad, you know?
Right.
And that's tough because I know the heartbreak that it causes, but at the same time, I just want them to understand that you gotta love him past what he is, past what he do or don't do.
Right.
You gotta love him as your father. And you know, and people change.
Yeah, they do.
One day, you know, they might wake up and it be a totally different story. You know, they might realize what they've been missing.
Right.
And if I've taught them how to harbor anger and bitterness and unforgiveness, they'll never get to experience that relationship that God has ordained at a point for mending.
Right.
You know?
Right. Reconciliation is what it's about. So we talked about a bunch of different ways how we see our crowns crooked. So I want to talk a little bit about the podcast before we wrap this up. But I want to say, what can we expect from this podcast? Because I'm excited. And I hope I'm going to be a guest one day. Because you threw a monkey wrench in my thought process by saying that a man's crown can be crooked too. I didn't think about that. Yes. So hopefully I'll be a guest one day. But what can we expect from the podcast?
So everything, tips on parenting. We can have deep discussions and depression. Talk about that. You know, life, how to money management. You know, everything.
Right.
I mean, it's just a bag of goodies. It's a one-stop shop.
Right.
And I'm here for it all.
No doubt. I think it'd be a great podcast. I think if you even go back and listen to this podcast, you probably can pick out at least 7 or 8 topics out of this podcast.
Like, I'm just like, I'm going to have to go back and listen to this because I done said a lot of nuggets. So,
right. So
absolutely.
It's tough, you know, knowing, because I'm still thinking about, you know, from a man perspective with the crooked crown, but, you know, it's tough to be able to have the ability and the willingness to be vulnerable around people, to talk about what happened to you. But the one thing I found out about it from my perspective when God was showing me how to do it is that it takes some of the shame away from you. And it's really, when you start talking about your crooked crown, you start to see that the person that you're talking to, crown is crooked or was crooked, and they just learning to straighten it out. So it really gives you a relatability. So we're not, because we go through this world thinking we're in this thing alone. Nobody else experiences what we do. We are the only one, and we're not. It's just that most people rather wear the mask, like you were talking about earlier, than be themselves so somebody can see you, because we don't like people to see us down and out, because we feel, it's still a level of pride. I mean, it's pride. We have pride, and we don't want people to see it. And women have just as much pride as men. Oh, like I think we got it. I think we got it a little bit bad. I'm sorry, sis. Like, I know y'all probably like, sis, like, we supposed to be on the same page. We are, but I'm just saying, I think we just got to like a little bit more. And we got so many ways that we can cover it, or, whew. Yeah, I think y'all have more ways. I think men's pride is strong, but I think women have found a variety of ways to hide theirs or mask it, because some women are super aggressive just to protect themselves. So, you know, so I mean, you start seeing them like, daggone shit, I just said, hey, I don't want you, I'm just speaking. You know, I mean, you get that because they feel like they have to protect themselves because they don't have anybody else to protect them. So pride in a woman can be different. And I can think of a few occasions that I ran into some prideful women. It was never pleasant dealing with them. But sometimes it's like, and I'm sorry, but I don't take up for y'all for a minute. But I just see how much they crown is crooked because of the stuff they have to go through. And so it makes me readjust some of my expectations when I deal with them. It helps me, and I think that's the Lord, because one time before I wouldn't be the one that I'm like, well, who you talking to?
Right.
Get over that. You know what I'm saying? I would be like that, but it's more, but I think you should call a spade a spade. I think we should own our flaws. I think if we hide pride and we have issues, I think we need to own them. Some of us would be in relationships if we were able to accept our flaws and faults and try to fix them. You know what I mean? I think we
deal with that person in the mirror.
Yeah, that's it. I have a mirror test I do. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it came from God.
It probably came from me, because I was always giving you pointers.
Anyway, but I have the thing that I would look in the mirror, look myself in the eyes for. I try to do it for 2 minutes. When I first started out, it was about 15 to 30 seconds. But what happens is when you get close enough, you start to see your imperfections. You start to see who you really are, and it makes me like, do I really love the person that I see on the other side of this mirror?
And deal with that. Yeah. Deal with those things.
Yeah.
Because what we'll do is we'll see it, then we'll get dressed, we check ourselves out, we look, and then we head out the door.
Yeah, that's true.
And we just never deal with it.
Yeah.
Because nobody else can see it.
Right.
They only see what we will allow them to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Let's see this fake church smile that we have when we go to church.
But all of this is what you can expect from Crooked Crown 21 podcast.
No doubt. I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. First of all, we got to, you have a launch date in sight.
I do. I have a recording date, which is September the 10th.
This is right around the corner.
Yes.
It's here.
I'm excited and nervous all at the same time, but thanks to you kind of took some of the jitters off.
Oh yeah, so we're gonna be who we are when you with me, because it's like I don't want to be nobody else, and so if we make this thing like we just having a conversation, it's different. I think the people get to see it, and so I want to tell everybody where they can find you at. Because when this podcast jump off, we wanted to make sure that we get as many viewers as we possibly can for it.
So we're gonna have a YouTube channel,
all right, and
just stay posted, because I'm gonna have everything posted. Of course, it's gonna go. I'm gonna stream it on Facebook.
Yep. And
I'm gonna have little segments of it on TikTok.
Okay.
So, and Instagram. So we'll see.
No doubt, that's good. We'll keep you posted, and I will. Anything I get, I will pass through to make sure that the people who watch my podcast, I want you to support. One thing that I love about people that's kingdom minded is that we support each other, we push each other. We're not in competition with each other.
That's right.
We're in competition with getting unsaved people reconciled back with the Savior and adding value to people's lives. So we want to make sure we adding value. I am 100% positive because I know who she is and the person that she is, and I know what she's about, that she will most definitely add value to your life. So we want to make sure that you tune in. I want to thank you for being the first guest in the zone.
You're welcome.
It has been a great experience. I really enjoyed the conversation. So in parting with me, that's something I always do. This is just my thing.
Okay, go ahead, do your thing.
I believe that God has given me inner peace, and I want to bring that peace out to the world. Mm-hmm. So I always do peace out, because that's just what that means to me. So,
okay, so we'll do.
So we're gonna do it. We're gonna end this with a peace
out.
out.